How is it going, Rams? And welcome to the first Monday night sports show of the semester. I'm Ethan Bird.
And I'm Rachel Hallam. Tonight we take a look back at big weeks for both CSU men's and women's hoops.
Our very own Rose Carter previews the big game coming up on Sunday.
And Down in the DMs returns to close out the night. All of this and more coming up on CTV Sports.
CSU men's basketball has had one of its most important months of ball against the Mountain West this month. That did not slow down against conference leader Boise State. Entering the week, the Rams owned a 9-2 record in the Mountain West, while the Broncos sat at a perfect 9-0. A sweep would have put the Rams tied for the top spot in the conference. Game 1 was on Wednesday, and it was David Roddy's night, to say the least. Boise State is going to open up with the ball. They won the tip-off, and that is a 3-ball from Marcus Shaver Jr. to open up the game 3-0. James Moore's top of the key off to David Roddy. That would be his second 3 in a row, and it was his second 3 in a row to make it 7-7. Inbound, Roddy to Thomas to Isaiah Stevens, off to Adam Thistlewood, who usually hits those but doesn't matter though. David Roddy is underneath, one of the strongest guys in the Mountain West, puts it back. And guess what else he does? He plays a mean amount of defense, and that's just a disrespectful block. Give me that, says David. Isaiah Stevens, 5 seconds left, and he is so automatic in the final seconds of just about any half. You can count that one. 45-25 lead at the half, and then the Roddy dunk off to Boise State. Derek Alston Jr. with the monster dunk, 20 points on the night. And finally, David Roddy. He's in the paint. He owns the paint. He owned the paint on Wednesday night, backing down the Boise State defender. Floater, dagger, count it. It was all about David Roddy. And after shooting an outstanding 55.8% from the floor, the Rams would take Game 1 78-56. A dominant win that can be credited to one of the most complete Ram performances in recent memory. David Roddy recorded his 6th double-double of the season to a tune of 27 points and 15 rebounds, both career highs. Now, on to Game 2. Rachel?
Well, Ethan, after an exciting first win, the Rams were unable to complete the sweep against Boise State on Friday in their second matchup. The Broncos took down the Rams in commanding fashion, 85-77. Now we're going to start looking at Adam Thistlewood, the man of the night for the Rams, who had 18 points in the first half, setting his season career, including this nice deep 3. And turnovers were so bad for the Rams this night, especially for Stevens, as you can see. And then we have Derek Alston Jr., who hits a nice lob to Ray J. Dennings, puts up 2 on the board for the Broncos. Another turnover, but a nice quick recovery, and Steven makes up for it as he passes outside to John Tonje, who gets under the basket himself, gets 2 on the board for the Rams. But it wasn't going to matter because Derek Alston Jr., a name you kept repeating that night, hits a nice 3 on the outside. Stevens with the no-look pass to Deshaun Thomas, slam dunk, got a little hype for the Rams, but it was not enough as the Broncos took commanding control of this game, and you see Abu Kigab with a wide-open 3 there towards the end of the game. Now, while the Rams went into halftime with a 1-point lead, they could not hold on, and their biggest mistake, countless turnovers. By the time it was all said and done, the Rams ended the night with 18 turnovers, 7 of which came from guard Isaiah Stevens himself. Interestingly enough, the Rams had more turnovers in their blowout win against Boise than they did the second time around, but in the first game, they were able to defend the attack. On Friday, that was not the case, seeing as the Broncos had 24 points off turnovers alone. Coming out of the locker room to the start of the second half, Boise State went on a huge run and took absolute control of the game, gaining a 23-point lead and capitalizing on CSU's miscues that persisted throughout the second half. Forward Adam Thistlewood and guard David Roddy were adamant on their defensive performance.
Tonight was the defensive end. We just didn't have the toughness or the energy that we needed to execute. Like you said, we had a lot of turnovers in the first game, but we were able to get stops. In this game, we just couldn't get any stops.
Again, turnovers seems like a common theme right now, which we're just way too skilled and way too good to be turning over the ball that much. So we just got to get back to the drawing board and get better.
Now, even with the loss, head coach Nico Medved wanted to make sure that the purpose of Friday night's game and the Rams' partnership with UC Health and supporting cancer patients wasn't lost on anyone.
You know, it's a different feeling not having everybody in here tonight, but, you know, not forget, you know, what a night like this meant. And I hope, even though the Rams didn't come out on top, I hope that, you know, people who were involved felt the connection, felt us, that we really, really cared. And so I just want to make that point. The things we do, and I can't wait to be back and do it again when we see people face to face.
Vent a losing streak. The Rams head to Wyoming this weekend for another conference doubleheader and look for a chance to move up in the standings with a sweep over their rivals to the north. Now, I think we can both attest that being in was honestly very strange.
It's pretty miserable. You can't lie about that. I mean, Moby Madness is truly one of the most special environments you can find in college hoops, in college sports, like in general, especially with volleyball coming to town or getting started again soon. But I mean, honestly, it's such a blessing for us to be able to be there and cover these games.
Absolutely. Hopefully, we can get more people in the stands coming up soon, but we'll see. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens there.
The future is never promised, but don't worry, Hoopers. More basketball coverage ahead. Still against Boise State, but in enemy territory for the women's team. The first game of the doubleheader was a 71-51 win for the Rams. Freshman duo Ellie Bonney and Callie Clark combined for 29 points and 17 rebounds. McKenna Hofschild added to her conference lead in assists with 8 dimes. The Rams were also just as effective on defense, holding Boise State to 28.2% shooting from the floor. Game 2 on Friday was a similar story. Another 20-point rout of Boise State, 75-53. This time, CSU went on a 14-0 run in the first quarter and simply didn't look back. McKenna Hofschild performed again with 16 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals. Laura DeVos contributed 17 points and 9 boards, and the Rams absolutely dominated the glass, out-rebounding Boise State 52-38, with 4 Rams pulling in 9 rebounds each. I'll tell you what, Kawhi Leonard would be pretty proud of his Mountain West sisters in that one. And this sweep is so important because it shot CSU to 8-2 in the Mountain West, making them the league leader. And the Rams will look to keep up their conference lead when they face off against Wyoming this week on Thursday and Saturday for their shot at the border war.
Now staying on the Moby Arena court, but moving to a different net, CSU women's volleyball season is just around the corner. Starting this Friday, February 5th, 12-time Mountain West Head Coach of the Year Tom Hilbert and his explosive team will be starting on their path to what could be another chance at the NCAA tournament. Fortunately for the Rams, they get to start their season off on their home floor against the Air Force Falcons, but unfortunately for the Rams, Moby Arena will not be packed with the loyal fans that help push the Rams to victory. And for Coach Hilbert, missing the fans is just another hoop they'll have to jump through this season.
Probably the worst part of that is the players will actually be able to hear me now. So I think it's going to be strange. It's going to be interesting. We did a little scrimmage with all of the effects and everything on Saturday, just so we know what it's like. And it was interesting. And I felt like, number one, they have a hard time hearing me because of the mask. So I'm yelling out stuff through this mask. They can't hear what I'm saying. And so I think you're going to just see a lot of coaches just sitting, giving signals, that kind of thing. And the players are going to have to create their own energy out on the court. And hopefully they'll do that. I mean, we've told them that that's what they're going to have to do. This is not a deal where they get this great Moby Arena to help them energize every day. They've got to do it on their own.
Now, along with the schedule announcement, the Mountain West released its preseason favorites for 2021, and the Rams were not lost in the polls. This season, even after losing 5 starters, the Rams are once again the conference favorite. Since the Rams have won 16 of the 21 Mountain West titles and haven't lost a conference match since 2018, it was no surprise they received the most first-place votes, being projected to finish atop the Mountain West for now the 8th consecutive season. Not only did the entire squad earn the number 1 slot, but 3 out of 8 positions on the Mountain West preseason team were filled by Colorado State players. Defense specialist Alexa Romeliotis and setter Sierra Zimmerman to their first preseason teams, while senior outside hitter Brianna Reynolds was named to her 3rd straight preseason team. And the accolades don't stop there for Reynolds, as she was also named the preseason player of the year. Hilbert and company are ready for what's to come this season, and based off the mass amounts of votes received, this season is sure to be just as exciting as Moby Madness would have been.
Now, volleyball is probably my favorite sport to cover here at CSU because Tom Hilbert does such a good job at building a team that always produces. As CSU's head coach, he's never lost. He's never not won 20 games. Every time, 20-plus games. And it's just so fun. I'm really excited to have CSU's most dominant sport back on campus.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting as well because they have so many new players that came in, 8 freshmen this season. And like I said, they lost 5 of their starters this past season, all graduating, all great players. But it's going to be really interesting to see all these different players come into their own and fill those positions as well.
Oh, yeah. Kirsty Hillier, Katie Oleksak. Moby's really going to miss a lot of those seniors from last year. Now, time for a break. But first, let's check in with Rose. I understand you have some things to say about an important football game this weekend.
That's right, Ethan. And make sure to stay tuned after the break to hear my preview on the big game in Tampa.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up 1 finger if you're a man, women 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Well, the big week is finally here, but I can't really talk about it, at least not in the way we normally talk about it. On Sunday, the Professional Football Championship will feature last year's champs from Kansas City and a team from Tampa Bay led by the GOAT. You may have heard of him, Tom Brady, who in his first year in Tampa is in position to get his 7th ring. Now, the league controls the rights to the marketing of this game. So far, we haven't been able to get approval to raise quite enough money in student fees so CTV can pay for those rights. So, at least until next year, I can't say the name of the teams, I can't say the name of the conferences, I can't say the name of the No Fun League, I can't say the game is happening on a super weekend day known as Sunday, and I can't even say the name of the event. So, for this segment, let's call the big game being played Sunday the Big Soup Bowl. Now, back to the game. When the 2 teams met back in Week 12, the reigning champs put on a show in the first half. Tyreek Hill went off for 203 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns in the first quarter alone. But Tampa almost came back in the fourth quarter, losing the game by just 3 points. Now, this matchup is already historic in that Tampa Bay will be the first team playing the big game on their home turf at Raymond James Stadium. And then you have the 5th battle between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Or, as ESPN analyst Mina Kimes puts it, GOAT versus Baby GOAT. Brady has 6 Pro Football Championship wins and 3 league MVPs in a 20-year span. Let's put that in perspective. We call Green Bay Title Town. They've won 7 championships in the last 60 years. If Brady wins on Sunday, I guess he's officially Title Tom. He's also the winningest quarterback in league history. But then you have Mahomes. He's had a 50-touchdown, 5,000-yard league MVP season, big Super Bowl win, and 2nd championship appearance in just his 3rd year as a starter. Now, Kansas City and their high-powered offense are trying to run it back and repeat as league champs. But they'll have to face Tom Terrific and Tampa's monster defensive line to do it. Now, enough with the lead-up. Let's get into my 3 things to watch out for. We have to start with Tyreek Hill. Now you see right here, Patrick Mahomes back to pass, lofts it over the head of Carlton Davis right into Tyreek Hill's hands. And that's right, Tyreek shooting the deuce. And again, we have Mahomes back to pass. And this is going to look pretty familiar. Right over the head of Carlton Davis, and Tyreek is going to backflip into the end zone for 6. Now, we all know Tyreek Hill is one of the most explosive players in the NFL, if not the most explosive player. In the last 2 playoff games, he's had 100-plus yard games. In Buffalo last week, he went off for 172 yards. And then in Cleveland, 110 yards. So in Week 12, Tampa Bay tried to stop Hill with Davis in coverage and then some late safety help. But with a player as explosive as Tyreek Hill, late help is often help that comes too late. Now, that was seen in Patrick Mahomes' perfect passer rating against Davis, and Tyreek Hill finished the game with 269 yards. Now, we all know Kansas City has so many weapons. They have Sammy Watkins coming back from injury. They have McCole Hardman. They have Demarcus Robinson. So, I mean, come on, Todd Bowles. Get the man Davis some help over the top. But Hill isn't the only one to watch out for. Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end in the league. Let's look at the film. Patrick Mahomes back to pass and goes right to Kelce, his go-to man. You know, Kelce is the kind of player you can prepare for, you can plan for, but you just can't stop him, and he is the Chiefs' biggest red zone threat. He's also had over 100 yards in each playoff game the last 2 games. And this season, he broke George Kittle's record for most receiving yards by a tight end with 1,416 yards. So he'll definitely be one to watch for in the game. Now, moving on to my second thing to watch, Tampa Bay's defensive line. Let's go back to last week's game against Green Bay. So right here you see Rodgers is going to get sacked by Shaq Barrett. And he's a very familiar face for CSU players or fans. And anyway, so these two, Jason Pierre-Paul, you'll see him right here. These two are a big reason why this defensive line has been dubbed the Grave Diggers. In this season, they've had 6 players with 3+ sacks. That's tied for 4th in the league. And in quarterback hits, they're tied for 2nd. Now, this defensive line is very good at really attacking the offensive line's weaknesses. And you can see that in these highlights as Green Bay's left tackle was out, and they really just attacked him. And that's going to be big against Kansas City because they have their left tackle, Eric Fisher, out. He blew out his Achilles in the game against Buffalo. And it'll also be interesting to see if they continue to blitz as much as they have been, because Mahomes is the best quarterback under pressure. He has a 132.4 passer rating. And so it'll just be interesting to see who has the edge in this game. Now, moving on, we can't forget about Tampa's offensive weapons and how they'll match up against KC's defense. You can see right here, Tom Brady is going to throw to Mike Evans. He had a 1,000-yard season. And then right here, Brady is going to pass the ball to Chris Godwin. who also had a very good season, 840 yards. And then we go to Scotty Miller. He's a name you don't hear as much, but he's been playing very well. And then we have on the defensive side for Kansas City, Juan Thornhill. He was injured last season, but is back and in good form this season. And we have L'Jarius Sneed right here. He is a rookie cornerback, and he does everything. I mean, you see him sacking the quarterback right there, but he's also the best cornerback on Kansas City's defense with a 53.4 passer rating allowed. And now for those of you going out to local sports bars to watch the game, you may want to rethink your plans. Sports bars are following Larimer County protocol, which is currently allowing only 25% capacity. For places like Crazy Carl's Pizza and Sports Bar, that means just 25 to 30 available seats. So plan ahead if you are going out, stay safe, and stay healthy. And well, that's all for my game preview. Enjoy watching the game on Sunday on CBS, a network that can call the game something other than the big Soup Bowl. Coming up next, the long-awaited return of Down in the DMs. How are we feeling about it over there?
Well, Down in the DMs is coming in hot right after the break. Stick with us.
Okay. Let's figure this out.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
We
go down in the DM. It go down, it go down. It goes down in the DM. It go down, it go down in the DM. It go down, tell it down.
Welcome back from the break, Rams, and welcome to the first week of Down in the DMs. Now let's get right to it. Matthew Stafford has found a new home in Los Angeles. Who won the trade, you guys, the Rams or the Lions? Ethan, why don't you start us off with this one?
Well, let's preface this first for a quick second. Stafford to the Rams for 2 first-round picks in 2022 and 2023, and then a third-round pick in 2021. So it really depends on how you look at this. Right now, the Rams are winning the trade right now, but in the future, you might be looking at the Lions and say, oh, they might have stolen Jared Goff there a little bit, because after this, the Rams will go 7 seasons without having a single first-round pick. Yeah, Matthew Stafford, I think he's one of the most underrated QBs in the NFL. But what happens when he's going to have to retire soon, just like all the other guys? You go 7 seasons without a first-round pick, you might find yourself in a worse position.
I think you said it pretty perfectly there, that the Rams are looking kind of at their present more than they are looking at their future. I would say that the Rams kind of won this one, but more specifically, I would say that Matt Stafford won this one. You say that he's not got a lot of time in his career left, but I think for him to get out of Detroit and actually have more available targets on his offensive lineup, I think that's a much better situation for him.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Rachel. I mean, LA, they really have the pieces to put around Stafford that he did not have in Detroit. And I know Detroit's going to get some first-rounders, but they're also known for really squandering talent. I mean, just look at Calvin Johnson.
Dang, you put a dig on Megatron there for a second.
That's all said and done, but, I mean, they have a new front office now, and they have a new head coach now in Detroit. So I think I'm a big Matthew Stafford guy, but I was even bigger Jared Goff guy, and I may have been pretty wrong about that. I mean, back in that, I think it was the 2018 bowl game where Cal beat Air Force. he looked like the quarterback that he was 2 years ago that dominated the league. So Detroit could have found a gem and had one of the more lopsided trades this week, which we're not going to talk about. I miss you, Nolan Arenado. Wait, anyway, we're not going to get into that. But I really think that they could win this trade if Jared Goff continues to perform and they draft well.
That's a big if, because I just think that Jared Goff is a little iffy on the field. I think he kind of goes back and forth. He has his really bad off days, and if he doesn't have a broken finger during the season, I think that might be a little helpful. All I'm saying is I would much rather go from Detroit to LA than LA to Detroit, personally.
That's fair. I won't blame you that. But after a tough start to the Nuggets, sorry, we're going to move on to the next question. Should probably let you guys know about that. After a tough start to the season, Nuggets have climbed to the number 4 spot in the West. This question comes from my boy Youngest Baudet on Twitter. Thank you for reaching out. Should the Nuggets trade for Bradley Beal? What are we thinking?
I think they should absolutely trade for Bradley Beal. Why wouldn't they want someone who's a top scorer to go very well with Murray and Jokic?
Yeah, I think Bradley Beal desperately needs to get out of Washington. I think arguably they are the worst team in the league right now. I mean, they're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference with a 4-12 record. I think that he definitely needs a team that he can build with. And going to the Nuggets, I think that could be really good for him, honestly. I think that he could have much more help offensively. I mean, you already talked about it, Rose. He's one of the top scorers in the league. He is the top scorer in the league, averaging 35 points a game. I mean, that's just incredible. He needs a team to support him. He can't do it all himself.
You know, as much as, Bradley Beal on the Nuggets is a dream. It's really any basketball player's dream. And he could be that third key that Michael Porter Jr. hasn't quite become yet. However, the big problem is, in just about any package for Bradley Beal is going to have MPJ in it. And in my opinion, MPJ is untouchable. MPJ is after Jokic, is probably one of the most important players on the Nuggets for the future. I mean, he missed a month due to COVID, came back, and he dropped 20 points. MPJ is too special to give up for Bradley Beal. What I would say, instead, Gary Harris and Will Barton, as much as sentimental as they are for the Nuggets, they helped build this playoff contending team. I don't think that they're very big assets to this team anymore, and at times, they drag them back. So maybe a Derrick Rose trade would be better than Bradley Beal.
Well, we'll just have to see. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, not better than Bradley Beal, but more realistic for the Nuggets. I should redact
Okay, that's more like it. Finally, this is one of the best seasons in CSU men's basketball history. What are the odds they go dancing in March?
I don't know. I think that after this... I think that after they couldn't complete this sweep against Boise, which they very much needed for the end of the season, I think it's kind of all up in the air, but, I mean, there's still a lot of conference play to go, so you never know what's going to happen to the top place right now. I mean, you never know what's going to happen to Utah State. You never know what's going to happen to Boise, so we'll just have to see. If they can keep their turnovers to a low, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, they've just been pretty sloppy lately. But they do have the easiest schedule left in the Mountain West.
Absolutely. I mean, they're playing the bottom half of the league. Wyoming, University of New Mexico, Nevada, Air Force, who are combined 13-32 in the Mountain West. If they go perfect, they could find themselves in the tournament. And, well, that is all the time that we have for tonight. We're looking forward to another great semester. I'm Ethan Bird.
And I'm Rachel Hallam. Make sure to tune in tomorrow night for Ellison Hubbard's first show since last spring.
Lastly, I'm Rose Carter. Follow us on sports_CTV on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on CSU Athletics all week long. Good night, Rams.